There are events that shake the foundations of science. Incidents so haunting that even the most seasoned investigators hesitate before drawing conclusions. But few moments in modern aviation come close to the mysterious catastrophe of Air India Flight 171, a tragedy that didn't just end in flames. It ended with questions that tore holes through the very fabric of what we think we know. The aircraft, fully operational, with no prior malfunctions, vanished into chaos just moments after takeoff. No mayday call, no technical alerts, just a blip on the radar. Gone. For months, authorities were silent, and the public remained in the dark. But behind the curtains, a relentless investigation was unfolding. Engineers, crash analysts, and even AI forensic systems were poring over the black box data, frame by frame, second by second. And finally, after decoding the final audio sequence, the truth began to emerge. What they found wasn't just disturbing. It was the kind of discovery that forces the aviation industry to rethink everything it thought it had under control. Because embedded in those last transmissions was a clue that confirms our worst fears, and no one was prepared for it. Air India Flight 171 was supposed to be routine, a short-haul flight over familiar airspace with veteran pilots, standard procedures, and ideal weather conditions. Everything about this journey, from pre-flight checks to initial ascent, was flawless. No abnormalities in the cockpit, no mechanical flags, no delays. But then, exactly 34 seconds after takeoff, everything unraveled. The aircraft climbed steadily to 3,000 feet, then dropped off the radar without warning. Air traffic controllers, at first stunned, assumed a communication glitch. But when no response came back, panic set in. Emergency protocols were activated. Radar replays were pulled. But what baffled even the most seasoned controllers was the absence of distress. Not a single attempt to radio ground control, just static, as if the cockpit had been swallowed by a void. It was as if the aircraft had been erased, not destroyed, erased. But this was just the beginning. The wreckage, found scattered over an 11-mile radius, painted a disturbing picture. The plane didn't just crash, it exploded mid-air, disintegrating almost instantly. And still, the black box survived. In most aviation incidents, the black box acts like a final witness, a silent sentinel that records the last conversations, control inputs, and engine parameters. But what made the black box of Flight 171 so different wasn't just what it recorded, but what it seemed to intentionally leave out. During initial recovery, forensic teams noted something deeply unsettling. There was a 7-second data blackout, a digital void where everything went dark. 7 seconds of silence. 7 seconds where both cockpit voice recordings and flight data ceased simultaneously. It was as if some external interference had jammed the system, not from inside the plane, but from somewhere unknown. When the audio resumed, the voices of the pilots were no longer composed or routine. They were frantic, almost incomprehensible. One voice was heard repeating a phrase over and over. "It's not responding. It's overriding. It's overriding." But overriding what? No system on board was designed to take full control from the pilots, unless there was external interference or a software hijack. The next sound was a loud electrical buzz, followed by a deep rumble, and then nothing. The black box shut off for good. For weeks, human analysts struggled to make sense of the final recording. But the degraded audio and electromagnetic noise made it nearly impossible to isolate the relevant frequencies. That's when investigators turned to something unprecedented, a neural deep learning model trained to detect anomalies in encrypted sound data. This AI wasn't just smart. It had been developed by aerospace defense systems to detect untraceable audio signatures, and what it uncovered changed everything. Hidden beneath the static and the overlapping panic was a high-pitched oscillation, a synthetic signal, one that matched no known aviation frequency. When the waveform was isolated, it displayed a mathematical rhythm, almost like a beacon or a code. Scientists ran the pattern through decryption engines and got a chilling result. The frequency matched a high-altitude, encrypted military transmission protocol, but one that was decommissioned in 1998. How could that signal appear on a commercial flight in 2025? And more importantly, who sent it? While decoding the black box data, AI-enhanced satellite imagery was also pulled from the moment of the explosion. Weather satellites captured a sequence of frames showing the aircraft's final ascent. At first glance, there was nothing out of the ordinary, until frame 307. A shadow appears, not a bird, not another aircraft, but a triangular silhouette hovering just 400 feet above the plane, seconds before detonation. Investigators initially ruled it out as debris or camera artifact, but when the imagery was fed through thermal AI filters, the object showed a heat signature, active and mobile, unlike any known aerial vehicle. This is where the story takes a turn into the unthinkable. Former defense consultants reviewing the footage claimed the signature resembled that of an electromagnetic interference drone, capable of disabling aircraft avionics remotely. The problem? No such drone is in public inventory. But one whistleblower, formerly with the Indian Space Research Organization, came forward anonymously, stating, "What happened to Flight 171 wasn't a malfunction, it was a demonstration. A message." In the final seconds before Flight 171 disintegrated mid-air, the black box recorded a sudden surge in lateral G-force, indicative of an evasive maneuver. But this maneuver wasn't standard. It wasn't part of any known evasion protocol taught in commercial aviation. Experts were stunned when they analyzed the flight trajectory and realized that the pilot attempted a radical roll and dive combination, a military-style corkscrew evasive pattern, something seen only in high-stakes combat simulations. It raised an even bigger question. What was the pilot trying to avoid? Why would a trained commercial aviator, in the final seconds of life, perform a move that could easily cause structural failure to the aircraft? The voice transcript moments before the fatal spiral includes one haunting phrase, screamed not once but 3 times, "It's following us. It's not letting go." What was following them? There were no other aircraft on radar, no drone signals, no hostile interception. And yet, something invisible seemed to be pursuing the flight, something that triggered a reaction no one could have prepared for. As media silence surrounded the crash, and the official narrative focused on technical failure, a confidential leak reached an investigative journalist working with a European aerospace monitoring agency. The leak didn't come from a government official. It came from a space-based telemetry analyst working for a civilian satellite company contracted by a defense entity. He revealed that his team had detected anomalous electromagnetic pulses in the same airspace, precisely matching the time frame of the crash. These pulses weren't random. They were rhythmic, encoded, almost intentional. When compared with similar signals captured during known military jamming exercises, the signature didn't match any existing nation's known electronic warfare protocols. More importantly, a buried footnote in the telemetry report indicated something far more shocking. The EM bursts originated from a point 2,400 feet above ground level, but no object, civilian or military, was detected occupying that position. The implication? Either stealth technology beyond our comprehension was in play, or something else entirely. While analysts scrambled to make sense of the Flight 171 incident, a team of independent researchers began mapping aviation disasters that shared unexplained characteristics: missing data, pilot confusion, erratic control responses, and sudden aerial disintegration. What emerged was a chilling pattern. Over the last 40 years, at least 7 incidents globally showed signs eerily similar to Flight 171. Each case had a moment of audio blackout. Each had final words from the cockpit suggesting interference. And each occurred in airspace known for electromagnetic anomalies or magnetic field distortion. From the 1983 Siberian transport disaster to the more recent 2009 Atlantic incident involving a commercial Airbus, the blueprint was the same. Sudden loss of control, systems going rogue, and last words hinting at an invisible force. Could Flight 171 be the latest chapter in a long-hidden story? A story of encounters at altitude, where human aviation brushes against something far beyond our current technological understanding? Perhaps the most unexpected development came from the world of astronomy, not aviation. Several days after the Flight 171 black box was decrypted, a group of astrophysicists working with radio telescopes in southern India reported a burst of cosmic interference, captured within minutes of the crash. Initially thought to be random noise, the signal was later found to have a pattern: binary fluctuations mimicking artificial encoding. When cross-referenced with the encrypted noise found in the black box, the match was uncanny. down to the millisecond pulse spacing. One professor, speaking under anonymity, went further. The data looks like it came from a terrestrial source, but it behaves like deep space telemetry. It's as if someone, or something, was sending a message back, or calling something home. While officials were quick to dismiss the overlap as coincidence, the scientific community whispered a different possibility. That Flight 171 had flown into a zone of interference linked not to Earth, but to something orbiting far beyond our planet, something silently observing and occasionally responding. The crash of Air India Flight 171 may have been written off officially as a tragic malfunction, just another name on the long list of aviation disasters, but the data tells a very different story. The final maneuver, the pilot's haunting last words, the electromagnetic anomalies, the unexplainable signal decoded by astronomers, all of it points to one terrifying truth that authorities seem determined to bury. This wasn't just an accident. This was an encounter that left no trace on radar, no visual confirmation, and yet shattered the laws of physics and aviation protocol alike. What force could disable a plane's systems, trigger combat-level evasive maneuvers from a seasoned pilot, and send a transmission that radio astronomers couldn't even identify as human? There's a line we're not supposed to cross, a threshold of knowledge that seems to terrify those in charge. And Flight 171 didn't just cross it, it smashed through it. But here's the real question. If this happened once, could it happen again? Are these skies we trust still truly ours? Or are they being shared, watched, by forces we've never been prepared to acknowledge? You've seen the clues. You've heard the recordings. The only thing left is to stay curious and keep asking the questions they don't want you to ask. Because silence, in cases like this, isn't safety. It's complicity. If this video opened your eyes, don't let it be buried. Share it. Subscribe to uncover more hidden truths. And above all, stay watching the skies.